in the hands of the jury. Tonight, as the Drew Peterson jury enters its first night of deliberations, we're getting a glimpse at some of what the panel of 12 men and women are focusing on. Kim Vadas has more from Joliet.
From Drew Peterson's lawyers tonight, we hear that Drew Peterson himself is in good spirits as he awaits his fate. The jury went into deliberations at around 9:40 this morning, and just 90 minutes in, the jury came back with a series of questions about key hearsay witnesses, phone records, and even forensic photos. Outside court, Kathleen Savio's family gets support, waiting for justice, wearing a button with her picture. Stacy Peterson's sister taking some comfort that her sister, missing since 2007, is finally being heard.
It shows that Stacy's here with us today, and she's looking to see Drew convicted as well.
Today, 2 of the jury's questions were aimed at hearsay testimony from Stacy Peterson to her pastor Neil Shorey and divorce attorney Harry Smith. Shorey testified Stacy told him Peterson disappeared in the middle of the night, coming back with a bag of women's clothes that weren't hers, and that Drew coached her to lie to police. Smith testified Stacy wanted to know if she threatened to tell how Drew killed Savio, could she get more money in her divorce.
Everything the judge and the defense wanted to keep out of that courtroom came from Stacy, and that's what the jury wanted to hear, and that's what I think is going to seal Drew's fate.
That evidence is really powerful.
Jury consultant Bill Healy believes these questions send a signal.
If you're going to send someone to jail, you want to be able to say, we went through piece by piece. This is how we tied it all up.
But the defense thinks, given they wanted testimony and forensic evidence, it could play in their favor.
Seems that maybe they've got 2 committees or 2 halves of them. One are looking at the Stacy issue or the credibility issue and the hearsay issue, and the other ones are looking at the forensic issue. So they haven't decided anything yet.
I know that this is a jury that's very thoughtful, and they're going to make sure they come to the right conclusion.
It's not science, but experts do say that the longer the jury deliberates, the more likely they'll come back with a guilty verdict. At the Will County Courthouse, Kim Vadas, NBC5 News.
Former Cook County State's Attorney Thomas Glasgow joins us now. He's also been a defense attorney. Let's get right into what Kim just said. Is it true that the longer they deliberate, the more likely there is a guilty verdict coming?
Generally, in my experience, the juries that we've had, and as both a prosecutor and a defense attorney at my firm, and when I was a state's attorney, the longer they stay out, generally speaking, more likely it is they're going to come to a verdict of guilty, or they come to a compromise verdict if there is some sort of compromise that they can make.
Okay. Let's first of all talk about, they just went home about 45 minutes ago. They've been deliberating since about, what was it, around 9-something, 9:30-ish?
On and off between reading the additional transcripts back into the records, going out for objections during the reading, etc. The actual deliberation time has not been, the entire day.
No, but for the most part, it was not, my point being, not an immediate verdict. They didn't get in, take a vote, and go, okay, whatever. No. What can we read into that, if anything?
Well, the fact that they've been deliberating all day means that they are actually, they're really going over the evidence. And the lion's share of this day was spent going over old evidence that are the important facts. The statement from Stacy Peterson to both her attorney and to her minister. The phone records from Drew Peterson, the autopsy photos. They're trying to come to the conclusion, in my estimation, that a murder occurred. And once that threshold of a murder has occurred, then the question is not, has a murder occurred, but who did it? And if it wasn't Drew Peterson, then who did commit the murder? And if there's no other viable answer that the defense has presented, then juries tend to think, well, he's on trial, he was arrested, so therefore he must have done it. Do I let that person go? And do I let that person back out into society? They take their job very, very seriously.
But it's not their jobs to determine who did it. It's their jobs to determine whether or not the state proved the case. But is that...
In the jury room, sometimes conversations that go on aren't what we as attorneys or what we look at as a society actually occurs. There's been juries that we've talked to after the fact, and they work backwards. And some of them start in the middle, and some of them look at particular pieces of evidence. They come to different conclusions for different reasons.
So we talked a little bit about, they've asked for autopsy photos. They've asked for Drew and Stacy Peterson's phone records from 2 specific days in 2004, and testimony, as you mentioned, of Stacy's pastor as well as Savio's divorce attorney, who Stacy consulted with, and that's significant because she made some statements there. And so that tells you basically that they're just being very careful, or you think specifically it tells them they're looking for murder?
I think what they're trying to do, because this case does rest on hearsay, is they're looking to corroborate those hearsay statements. And if the phone records are accurate with the statements that were made in court, it tends to lend a greater weight and greater credibility to it. Likewise, the additional evidence that has been gone over, those are things that they're looking to corroborate the out-of-court statements used for the truth of the matter asserted.
Now, the judge didn't sequester this jury. What do you think about that? Was that a good thing, bad thing? I mean, because the media on this case is omnipresent.
It is, but it cuts both ways, because jurors go home and they're instructed not to have any kind of outside influence. And in the 24/7 news cycle that we have in the internet and everything else, they're going to get inundated with some effect of that. Now, they're instructed to disregard it, and they take it very, very seriously. However, jurors are not, they're human. They're human. Going to end up, you know, forming discussions with spouses, and sometimes there's pillow talk, sometimes there's things that go on that, you know, are outside influences, which they say, hey, nothing happened, but it does play into their psyche. It cuts the other way in that they could go day to day to day saying, look, I'm going to go home every night, and I can dig my heels in, and I don't have to come to a compromise verdict, so I'm just going to keep deliberating every day because I've been on this for 5 weeks. I can continue standing my ground. It could result in a mistrial, could result in a guilty, could result in a not guilty, but you're more likely to get a mistrial with someone digging in their heels saying, I don't have to sit in that hotel room away from my family, away from my wife, away from my kids, away from my significant other, and not see them. It makes people come to a decision much more quickly, and it takes away those outside influences.
And the judge could still do that later, correct? I mean, it doesn't have to just not do it, but...
Now that he hasn't done it, I've never seen a judge sequester a jury after he's had them sitting out while they're deliberating.
Okay.
That's, you know, I think one of the important things was he did not dismiss the alternate jurors. And that's something that if they can't come to a decision, then those alternate jurors are going to come back joint. They're going to renew their deliberations anew if one person, you know, is incapacitated for some reason or can't attend.
And that could change everything.
It could.
Right. Thanks so much, Tom.
It's good to see you.
Appreciate it. You too.